In this video, I want to talk about the readings in Module 2. So for this particular module, the objectives say that you're going to describe the principles of learner-centered design. Okay? You're going to explain the framework, the integrated framework. We're looking at learning experience design principles and also how everything works within the framework. So the objectives of the module are more focused on the framework itself. But let's take a larger look, a broader look at the reading and where the focus of the reading are. And I want to draw your attention to the recommended. So the recommended readings are, they're going to add additional value to it. But if you notice, all three of these readings focus on emotion. And I want to give you an example and talk you through it. Okay? Now, around us, we have a lot of technology. I mean, wherever you're sitting right now, just look around you. There's so much technology around you, right? Okay. Now, one thing that you probably have around you right now is a smartphone. And to explain the emotional element of it, I think an Apple iPhone is the best example of it. When a person buys an iPhone for the first time, they hook you with the iPhone, and it's very difficult for people to leave the Apple ecosystem once they've gone into it. And why is that? Because Apple products connect with you on a very emotional level, right? People will give you stories about how they've used the iPhone, how they've used the iPod, and um, their earbuds. So Apple kind of builds stories, and it does that because the product is so easy to use, right? It's almost an extension of yourself, which is why even little kids can go click, 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 and they can use it. And it's visually appealing. It is so user friendly, and it's because they're using user experience design, right? They're thinking of the end user and how you're going to connect with the product on a very core level. And as you read in the Nino's article, the branding and the advertisement goes into that story as well. And when you're now thinking about this product, you're thinking about emotions, right? And that's where the product becomes so powerful. So yeah, that's an iPhone. How does that translate into teaching and learning for us? Right? The core idea is still the same. When you're designing a product, you want to think about how the person, the end user, is going to be using it. So when you're designing a course, you want to think about how is the student going to be using it? How are they going to experience it, right? And that's where learner-centered design comes into it. Okay? Now, you're all in an amazing position right now because you are learning. You're experiencing an online course. You're going through the emotional experiences of it. You know what works, you know what doesn't work. So when you design a course, your feelings are going to influence how you design a course as well. So as you're learning in this course, I want you to reflect on your experiences with this course, right? Is this navigation easy? If it isn't, why isn't it easy? What is making it difficult? What can I do to make it easy? And those are the kind of questions you want to have when you're doing learner design. And this whole course is going to talk you through how to do learner-centered design. And you're going to realize that we're humans. We cannot see and experience a product from every perspective, every learner perspective. Right? We look at it from our narrow perspective. So in this course, we're going to broaden it out and have you look at it from different angles in the following. But for now, think about the emotional response you have to a course. I'm sure you might have had some courses where you're trying to find the course syllabus. And for the life of you don't know where it is. You're clicking 10 different links to try and find where that syllabus really have it. All you're feeling at that point is so one, it's not very learner-centered design, and the emotion is created such a negative emotion that you are now going to be associating this course with negative. So that's why we begin the conversation for this particular course with emotions, because emotions will influence everything you do. If you have a good response, a good emotional response, or a good emotional experience, of course, you're going to view the whole course in a positive light. And research has shown that students are more satisfied with the learning experience. And it can affect the learning outcomes. Because I'm not so stressed about annoying things, I can focus on the content and my learning is enhanced because of it. So that's why we begin with emotions. Now, the two required readings are the two chapters, 1 and 2 from the Designing the Online Experience book. Right? Now, remember, this book is available in the library, so please, you do not need to buy it. Okay. Now, this book is what's going to talk about the integrated framework and the in the book. So, so in the first chapter of the book, it's going to give you a broad overview of what is higher education, why are we taking a learner-centered view in higher education, and how is that going to influence things. Now, you're probably thinking, well, don't we all always do learner-centered design? Interestingly enough, learner-centered design is a fairly new concept because in the past, right, what has historically happened, especially in higher education, is the instructor walks in, they give a lecture. The idea is I have given the lecture, the student now has to figure out how to make sense of the lecture and how to process that lecture and understand it. There's no onus on the instructor to make it interesting. Oh, I learned the content this way, someone lectured at me and I learned it. I think you can do the same. So the focus is not on the learner or enhancing the learner experience at all. The other thing that you might hear is also, I don't, where instructors say that they don't want to do X, Y, and Z activity with learners in their classroom because it's more workload for the instructor. Right? If I do this activity, I have to grade so much and I have to plan so much and I have to do all of this. So I'm not going to do that activity. Obviously, not a learner-centered design at all. Right? So with learner-centered design, the focus is on the learner. What is the best experience we can give the learner so that they can be effective in their learning journey? So it is a huge paradigm shift that many instructors are still struggling with. And you'll see that struggle a lot in professional subject areas, like, for example, engineering, law, medicine, where they have this extremely traditional way of doing things, and moving away from that can be a little stressful for faculty. But we're looking at the learner-centered experience and how can we create that in an online environment. Okay, so why are we paying so much attention to it in an online learning environment, right? Okay. In a classroom, when I stand in front of people, it's easy for me to see you and smile and make a connection, right? We can stop and chat for a couple of minutes during a break. We can chat outside in the hallway. In online learning, we don't have those privileges and those opportunities. So how do we engage the learner then within the online environment? Right? How can we draw them and connect with them emotionally in the online environment? And those are some of those ideas that we're exploring in this module. At the same time, as you read chapter 1, you'll be reading about participatory design, design thinking, And in all of those, what we're really doing is giving voice to the end user. Participatory design is I'm the student who's going to be using this website. So let me engage in designing this, participatory design. Okay? And I can give you an example of what we do at my center here in Bethesda. So with setting up course sites and Canvas course sites, right, sometimes we might not have the privilege of being able to talk to learners before the course runs. But that doesn't mean we cannot bring the learner voice in at all, right? You have course evaluations that will give you some feedback. But what we do at our place very intentionally is all our Canvas course sites are reviewed by a student. So the student then, a student who has not taken the course, so doesn't know anything about it, goes into the course site and clicks everything and tries out everything to then tell you, well, this works, this didn't work, this is annoying for me. Right? So that's a learner-centered participatory approach. Based on their feedback, we then update the course site. So it's a participatory design. We get their suggestions. Where do you think we should put this? How should we move this around? So bringing that learner voice in, and it's now becoming very learner-centered. And so when you're looking at this course large scale, just remember that's where our focus is. We're trying to engage with the learner who is going to be experiencing this course. And we're now trying to figure out ways in which we can engage them at a very fundamental emotional level and give them the positive learning experience that they need. Okay, so that is chapter 1, and I'm going to quickly go into taking a look at chapter 2 as well. Now, in chapter 2, we come into the framework itself, and the framework has one. I think it was 11 the last time. Yeah, it has 11 discrete elements, right? And those are the elements of any learner that influence their response to the course. And it says that it influences learning design. Well, it influences learning design, the characteristics of a learner that influence the learning. Okay, so let's look at how that works. I'm going to take age as an example. Remember, we're doing learner-centered design, focusing on the learner's experience. Now, if age is a fact, so if you take a learner like me and you put me in front of a course and you want to find out how I'm engaging with the course site, things that I would be looking at would be, how big is the font? What are the colors you're using, right? How many clicks does it take to get me from A to B? Those are things that I would look at because of my age. Because my eyesight is not that great, right? I need things to be bigger. I need a contrast to be stronger there, right? I don't like whole huge boxes of text coming up. I don't like them all scrunched together. I want nicely spaced out. And that has a lot to do with my physical abilities and hence my age as well. Another thing that could be influencing is my culture and ethnicity, right? And and so, for example, if you have a lot of synchronous sessions, right, or to build community and social getting to know each other, one strategy is to have your learners share their pictures, put pictures in your little against your name so we can all see each other kind of thing. That's a very nice idea, very well intentioned, but culturally and ethnically, that might not be the best way for some people, right? And that again would tie into gender as well. So there are cultures where females don't feel comfortable with sharing images of themselves. It could also be a body sensitivity thing. I might have body image issues and I don't want to share my photograph with the rest of the class. And so a person with that kind of a background will react differently to the course. And so when you're thinking of designing a course site itself, you want to keep these things in mind. So you want to bring in voices from all of these different perspectives, right? Prior knowledge is a big thing. So learners who've already studied an online course always react more positively to future courses versus someone who's coming into it for the first time. So you're going to look at all of these things, and they talk about how it affects the design of the course itself. And so think through the ideas that are given over here and think about how can I translate this into activities into my course site. Okay. All right. So that is chapter 2. And I think you can see this. And as you can see, I'm just flipping through it very quickly. Now, for some of these things, we can't assume that all our learners are going to be good self-directed learners or that they're all going to be good with motivation. So what you can also do is to create those points within the course that you design. So self-directed learning means I will set up my own timetable. I will plan out what I need to learn, when I need to learn it, how I need to learn it. That might not happen for everyone. I know I am terrible at that kind of planning. I'll push everything to the last minute. So as an instructor, you want to balance it. So you want to give them a few touch points in the middle so that there is some plan and some organization. But you can have flexibility as well for someone who is more self-directed in their learning. And so that's where these kind of characteristics of the learner can help you think about how you're going to design your course, right? And within this itself, you've got the cognitive, behavioral, emotional, and social aspects, all of them playing together and working together. In a course itself, you have the course structure. How does it appear on the Canvas? You have the course interactions, which is the discussion board, right? You have learning activities, which could be reading a text. It could be watching a video. It could be completing an assignment. Social interactions are similar to content interactions. Discussion boards would be more social interactions. Content interactions would be more of your assignments and things. Assessment and feedback. So all of these things work together. You need all these elements. Of course, you're going to have this. So how are you going to frame all of them from a learner? Is what you're going to be reading about in this chapter. Now, when you read this chapter, for any of the readings in this course, right, the idea is not for you to remember what does emotional dimension mean, what does cognitive learning mean. That's not the intention. I'm not going to be doing a knowledge check, multiple choice question. Think about it from the perspective of, okay, so this is the information I have. How does it apply into practice? How does it influence my course design? And it's that course design lens that I want you to take all the readings. So when we're talking about aesthetics, how will it look pretty? Using headings of different sizes, using spaces in between text, using lines as dividers. All of those things go towards the aesthetics of a particular course site, which also affects how you feel about things. So when you're reading this, like I said, I'm not going to be asking you what is motivation and how is it working. I want you to think about motivation in terms of how does it affect online course design? How will this change the design of the course that I'm going to be working on? Okay, so please use that lens. All right, that's a little about the readings in this recording.